I'm going to try and show you quickly here how to repair these, or rather how to at least lubricate the seals on the keyway stem on this multi-port valve for the Hayward filters. The labels often get very nasty on here, and you can buy replacement labels for about 10 bucks. It's quite a nice marketing thing they got going there, instead of embossing the lettering directly onto the piece itself, and presumably that's to cut down on cost due to the fact that this is a glass fiber reinforced plastic. So the more intricate details you have in this injection molding process, you can see that they've done some over here that eats away and that wears at the molds. So that's why I assume they do that. Anyways, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the screws around the top and then wiggle this thing free, and the thing is going to come out like that. You want to take note of the orientation of the handle and the keyway, so you can see that the cup is at the back this way and the opening is at the front that way. Now the easiest way I find to do this is you have to stand on this to press it down. So presumably in the factory they have some sort of clamping device, but you're going to put the handle in orientation where you can punch out the pin. One side has the detent on it and the other side is free. So I'm going to put this like this on the winterization setting, and I'm going to put 1 foot here and 1 foot here to try and depress this down as I do some gymnastics and attempt to hit the pin out with a hammer. Okay, so this one is actually really stiff, and standing on it is not necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it like this on this side and whack this with a hammer. You can see that this is the end with the detent in it, so it's easier to hit it from the other side. I don't know if they're all done like this, but take note of the orientation that I'm hitting it like this, and yours should probably come out the same. Of course, you want to be careful not to whack your finger. And you can see that just slides out thusly. Now this one's, like I said, really seized, so it's not going to come springing and springing off on us. And you can see it just pops out like that. So the first thing we have, I'm just going to try and get the camera here as much as I can, is this plastic ring like this. And then these are quite nicely stiff in here. Again, you may have to get your feet. Fuck. Okay, that came out. And we can see that there's one of these on the bottom of the keyway. There's a spring, and there's another one on top. So you can kind of clean these off with a wire brush and then lubricate them and put them back on. Here are the two seals. There's two rubber seals. There's one here at the bottom. There's another one here at the top, and then there is this yellow plastic detent ring which has a slot in it, and we can remove it like that. And then it helps to get a very small flathead screwdriver or pick to get these off. Sometimes they're totally cracked and absolutely finished, in which case you'll have to replace them. But generally speaking, you can just take them off, lubricate them with a silicone lubricant, and put them back on. I recommend cleaning this as much as possible with a rag and some isopropyl alcohol to get all the dirt and debris off of there. It'll help the seal last a lot longer. Okay, so what I do is I take silicone lubricant. I order this from China. It's probably made of toxic waste or Lord knows what, and we'll take a little bit on this screwdriver and we'll put it in the slot here as evenly as possible before we put back on the rubber O-rings. So the O-rings are identically the same size. It doesn't matter which goes where. The only important part is that we put the rubber snap ring back on top as it was before. Okay, so the O-rings are back in. You can see how nicely and freely they turn. The yellow snap ring is back in place. We're going to add a generous amount of lubrication around this as well as the inside of the top plate over here. As I say, clean this off as well as possible with a rag and some isopropyl alcohol to get as much dirt and as much debris out of here as possible so that it's really clean. So there we go. I've generously lubricated this, and I'm actually going to put this one here because it has a bit better sticker. I've cleaned that, and I'm going to put this back on. The first thing we're going to do is pop back on one of these metal clips, or rather the ring, the spring, and then the other one. You can see how these kind of get a bit corroded in saltwater systems in regular freshwater pools, you don't see this. You only see this in saltwater systems, sometimes so bad so that this spring is completely finished, and just another reason why I highly recommend not using a saltwater pool. So we'll put a generous amount of lubrication on this over here. As I say, silicone lubricant is the only thing you should be using. So that will go like that, this will go like this, and then we'll put the top one like that. Now when we go to press down the top part, it's going to be able to tight because we bent this yellow snap ring a little bit, so we want to just make sure that that seats in there and that we don't snap it, and that we can just push this down like that, and you can see how freely it turns. And the last part, of course, is this plastic piece, which we're going to generously lubricate as well. You can see how it kind of bends in one way over the years from the pressure, so we're going to put it back down that way so that it's springing upwards. And just lubricate the bottom of this as well as the top. And then I also add just a little bit over here where these contact that, just helps quite a bit. And the final part, of course, is the pin. It will help it slide. As I say, one end has the detent on it, so we're going to hit from this end so that we're not fighting that detent and deforming the plastic keyway the whole time. So once again, we'll pay attention to the orientation of the cup, which is like this, on the handle, which will go to the back. We'll put it on the winterized setting, and we'll begin hitting the pin inside. So this is the tricky part where you have to stand on it with your feet, because presumably in the factory they have it clamped down somewhere. I highly doubt they have like a bunch of Indians squatting with chisels and hammers hitting these things in. So I'm going to do that right now. I can't really film that because it's very difficult, but I'll try and get that in right now. Last thing I want to kind of point out that will help is that we can put our center punch in from the other end to kind of hold it from one end as we begin to hit the pin in from the other end. And again, we need to be standing on this to push the center of the keyway up so that it will align with the holes in the handle. Okay, so that actually didn't work quite well while it was on the winterized setting, so I went one over so that the notch on the handle was actually in a setting, and then I was able to get the pin in. Anyways, you can see that it's in now, and how smoothly and nicely this turns. The last thing you want to clean and lubricate is the seal around the top here, and I'm doing this on carpet. You don't want to do this on concrete or anything hard, because then what happens is you're going to start to deform the spider gasket here at the bottom, and then it's going to start leaking through the settings. So we're going to clean this, we're going to lubricate the ring and put it back on, and it'll be good to go. Okay, now it's just simply a matter of popping the top back on, replacing the screws, and you'll note that there's a notch here where it aligns. And furthermore, if you're going to be replacing the label, you'll note that there's a notch here where you align the label. But if you're watching this video and your label is totally gone, here's a reference. The notch is over here.